Ah, shit. Here we go again.
This prison story is about a 40-year-old man that got a teenager pregnant. So we sitting in a day room, and y'all know every Tuesday we get brand new inmates. So we sitting in the day room, and this black dude come in there with a black eye, right? It's about 5 inmates, and he the last one to come through. And, you know, he was kind of limping a little bit, and he had a black eye. So I'm looking at him like, what the heck happened to him, right? So 9 times out of 10, you know, it's not really out of the ordinary to see somebody with a nice shiner or whatever. But, you know, these are the reasons that you can have a black eye, or AKA a shiner, right? You know, you might be a part of a gang and, you know, you just got snuck, or you done got lumped up, or, you know, the guards probably done whooped you out for whatever reason, or it could be many reasons, right? Now, his reason was because, well, let me tell y'all the story. So, you know, we sitting there, and I see him roll through, and I'm looking, I'm like, God dang, what happened to him, right? So he ended up ducking off and going into his cell, right? So he's sitting in there, and I put the word out like, yo, what happened to homeboy, right? So 5 minutes later, this white dude named Kyle pull up on me. He like, hey, you know that's that guy, right? I said, what guy? He said, you know, the guy that was on the news that got that 17-year-old girl pregnant. I said, 17-year-old girl? He was like, yeah, he's 40 years old. I said, oh, okay. Well, I mean, what's that, like statutory? He was like, no, it's legal in a state. But what happened was he was messing with this girl since she was 12. I said, whoa, hold up. He said, yeah, ask him for his paperwork. Now, listen, y'all. In the MDOC prison system, you cannot ask people for their paperwork, because if you ask somebody for their paperwork and they tell on you, like tell the guards, whatever, you can get hit with another charge, right? So you got to be slick about it. So I said, hold on. So dude, 42, he had the baby with her when she was 17. He was messing with her since she was 13. So that's 4 years. So this girl was 13, and this dude was, what, 38? Forgive me, y'all, if my math is off, but I'm pretty sure. I said, so he was 38 and this girl was 13? He was like, yeah. I said, oh. I said, well, he can't be up in here. He was like, yeah, I know. Now, at this particular time, y'all, me, Al, Homicide, Tarty, and Jerry just got into some big mess dealing with KB and the old man. If y'all haven't checked out that video, y'all make sure y'all go to my playlist story time where I got all my prison stories at. But anyway, we just got into some mess with KB and the old man or whatever. So we wasn't really trying to push that line right now, because our numbers was depleting like a mug due to a lot of foolishness and whatever of us going to the hole and getting, you know, sent to different prisons, whatever. So, you know, this was the 5 amigos right here. We had to, you know, push a certain line. But here's the thing. It was an underlying rule that anybody that got bad charges absolutely cannot be in this dormitory, right? So I'm at a predicament because the Crips ain't in here no more, and it's like 2 Bloods, but they really weren't on nothing. They were just trying to do their time and go home. So it really kind of fell on me and my people. So I'm like, all right. So I tell Al, like, hey, roll with me right quick. So he like, what's up? I said, hey, this dude, I'm getting word that homeboy got bad charge. He told me, dude with the black eye? I was like, yeah. He said, what he did? I said, well, white guy told me, like, he got this 17-year-old pregnant, whatever. And, he's 42, but the thing about it, he was messing with, this girl when she was 13 or whatever. And he was like, oh. So I said, yeah, so go grab that thing right quick and meet me down here in about a minute. He said, all right. So Al went upstairs and, got a sword of justice, right? So he come back downstairs and I said, all right, let's go. So we roll up in dude's cell. Just roll up on his cell, right? And he just turned around like, hey, listen, y'all, I don't want no problems. I said, listen, we need to talk. He like, what's going on, man? I said, hey, so what you do to get in here? He like, man, I don't really want to talk. I said, no, we kind of past talking, man, because I done heard some things about you. So what you do to get in here? He was like, look, man, in my state, the age of consent is 17. So whatever you heard or whatever, that ain't really what it was about. Her mama lied on me. Her mama lied on me and said that, I was messing with her since she was 13, and they scared her to say that I was messing with her since she was 13 or whatever. So I said, all right, well, so what happened? So he said that, okay, so I was a friend of the family or whatever, and, the girl was crushing on me since she was 16, and I told her, like, nah, I kept turning down her advances, whatever, and until I told her she turned 17, where, we can legally be together. So I said, okay. Then he said, when she turned 17, she ended up moving out from her mom and them and moved in with him. I said, okay. And he said, yeah, we got into a relationship or whatever, but I wasn't messing with her. And I just told her, let's just wait till you turn 18 or whatever, even though it was legal. But, one thing led to another, and, we ended up messing around and she got pregnant. I said, okay. So then he was like, well, when she got pregnant, her mama was like, her whole family was like really mad at me, and they was talking about I was holding her hostage, and, I wouldn't let her leave. But the truth is, she didn't want to go. She didn't want to go back with them or whatever. So I'm like, all right. So I said, so what? Let me see your paperwork. And he was like, well, I don't really need to show you my paperwork because I already know if you ain't already knew about it, yeah, they were saying that, I was messing with her when she was 13 or whatever. And I said, so that's in your paperwork? He like, yeah. So I said, so did she testify against you and say that you did that? And he was like, yeah, but that's because her mama and them scared her or whatever in doing that. And I said, wait a minute, wait, hold up. I said, let me get this straight. I'm just laying the groundwork. So basically, this 16-year-old was crushing on you. You was the friend of the family. And you waited till she turned 17 in your state where that can be legal for her to move in with you. Am I right? Yeah, you right. But then you say that, oh, you told her you was going to wait till she turned 18 for y'all to actually be intimate, right? Yeah. But you didn't because, she pregnant. So when her mom and them found out that she was pregnant and they wanted her to come home, you wouldn't let her come. He said, no, it wasn't that I didn't want her to leave. It's she didn't want to leave. I said, okay. I said, so where if this girl was so in love with you, or, you know what I'm saying, if everything was on the up and up, which I don't believe a 17-year-old should be with a 38-year-old, but hey, that's just my business. But I said, so why did the girl then flip and say that you was holding her hostage and you was messing with her since she was 13? He was like, man, bro, I said, whoa, don't call me your bro. Do not call me your bro. He like, well, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I let her go, to her mama house, and she just stopped answering the phone and stuff. And next thing you know, the police come beating out my door. I said, see, Al. So at this point, y'all, Al done stood up and blocked the door, right? I said, see, Al, if you think about it, when you let dudes talk, eventually they tell on themselves. He was like, what you mean? What you mean tell on myself? I said, see, you said you let her. You said you let her go to her mama house, like you was holding her hostage. And he was like, man, no, man, it wasn't that I let her. I just said she can go. I said, see, you steady telling on yourself. So he was like, man, listen, man, I don't really care what nobody think, man. I know what happened. I already know what happened. At this time, he was trying to get loud, right? And Al done pulled the sword of justice out. And he said, hey, man, hey, hold on, man. Hold on, bruh. I said, hey, man, shut up, man. Shut your dang mouth. Quit trying to get these guards alerted. I said, matter of fact, you keep on popping that the way you popping it, we gonna do something to you in here, and the guards won't even know what happened. I said, you better lower your voice. He like, man, listen, man, man, it was all consensual, man. I don't know why they lied on me like that. I don't know why. I said, listen, man, at this point, it don't even matter who did what and was it consensual. The point is, it's in your paperwork that the girl was 13. You was 38. And he was like, man, listen, I don't want no problems. I want no issues. I said, well, you already got the problem. You already got the issues, because best believe everybody already know what's going on right now. He like, so what's going to happen? I said, you got 5 minutes. When me and my homeboy leave up out that cell, you got 5 minutes to roll it up. He like, well, what that mean? I said, go to the control booth and tell them you fear for your life. And he was like, all right, man, all right, I just don't want no problems. I said, you got 5 minutes. Let's go, Al. So we walk out the cell, right? And everybody was just looking. And then, you know how people be staring, and then when you look, and everybody start looking the other way, like they don't see what was going on. So that's what it was when me and Al popped up out the cell. So we end up going to the day room, and we sitting there, and about, I guess, maybe 8 minutes later, here he come, right? With 2 laundry bags, right? And as he walking, dudes yelling at him. Called him pedo, called him all type of names, right? I guess dudes just started clowning on him, right? So as he walked into the control booth, dudes just hollering at him, actually trying to get at him or whatever. So he get to banging on the control booth glass, and the guard come out like, what the fuck wrong with you, man? Hey, man, get me out of here, man. They trying to kill me up here. Right? So the guard like, hey, y'all, go lie down. So we like, man, for what? He like, man, hey, go lie down. So we all like, man, no, man, we ain't even do nothing. He like, hey, y'all better lie down. So he done pulled the guy in the control booth, whatever, right? And he tell all us to lock down. Well, they about to call the CERT team. Now, for those that don't know who the CERT team is, well, they are better known as the Goon Squad. You know, the cats that come with the black helmets, the black gloves, the black kneecaps, dressed in all black, suited and booted with them batons and the riot shields with the tear gas. That's the Turtle Squad. When they come through, you might as well just hang it up, man. You gonna get beat, you gonna get whipped out. So the best thing you can do is when the guards tell y'all to lock it up, go lock up. Or get ready to fight. And that's a fight that you gonna lose, period. Right? So, he like, hey, I'm gonna call the CERT team. I'm gonna call the code if y'all don't lock down. So we all talking junk and just walking off, dudes yelling out, y'all always protect the pedos, man. Y'all always protect the pedos and all this and that. So we all end up going to our cells, and we end up getting locked down, right? About 20 minutes later, the captain comes through, right, with the CERT team. And he like, hey, I want everybody to pay attention. Everybody. If anybody do anything to anybody up in this dormitory, anybody, all of y'all going on lockdown. I don't care who did it. I don't care what it was about. I'm going to start holding all of y'all accountable, right? So and he was dead serious, too, because he did it to another dorm before. So we like, man, what this dude talking about? He talking about he going to lock all of us down and hold us all accountable off one fight or whatever. Right, so we all like, all right, man, whatever, man. So then he like, hey, and I'm gonna let y'all know right now, homeboy is coming back up in here. So if anybody do anything to him, like I said, all of y'all gonna pay for it. Everybody gonna get their phone privileges taken. Y'all ain't having no visits for a month. Y'all ain't getting no comment stamp. Y'all ain't catching stole. Y'all ain't getting nothing. This ain't y'all prison. Y'all don't run nothing up in here. Y'all don't dictate who sleep where and how people gonna do their time. So like I said, if anybody got an issue, step forward right now. Right now. Now look, y'all. Normally I would take issue. But like I said, we just had a situation with KB and the old man standing up for KB. I mean, not KB, was standing up for the old man when KB was taking all his tobacco or whatever. And that's why our numbers got depleted, because, we had to handle that situation. That did not actually turn in our favor at all. But like I said, there's another story. I told this story before, so y'all can go to my story time playlist and find it. But anyway, so I said, well, Al, that's it. There ain't nothing we can do, right? So Al was like, man, F that, man. That dude ain't staying in here. Now, keep in mind, y'all, the captain did say that we better not touch him. That don't mean that we can't make this dude stay real uncomfortable, right? So I want to put a pause right there, because I want to take like a consensus of the whole audience. First of all, let me ask y'all a question. And I'm just going ahead and put my answer out there. But, I came to learn that a lot of people think in different ways. So I'm just going to put it out there for the audience. Do I think a 38-year-old should be with a 17-year-old? Absolutely not. Absolutely. However, what happens if it's a 17-year-old guy with a 38-year-old female? Now, does that change the dynamic of this thing? Let me know in the comment section. Is that right or is that wrong? Because when I was 16, I lost my virginity to a 22-year-old female. So, back then I was looking at it as, I'm winning. That was cool.